Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is official. Kamala Harris is not going on the Joe Rogan podcast. She said yes to Joe Biden, but she said no to Joe Rogan. And I think it's going to cost her big league. There has been no shortage of news in the news cycle. If you have been keeping up with what's going on, Joe Biden called half the country garbage this week. He called half the country garbage. If you are voting for Donald Trump, in the eyes of Joe Biden, you are garbage. I don't know if you knew that. This might be the last election we ever see as United States citizens. Elon Musk has said this might be the last election that the United States has. So if this is the last election, if we go blue, completely blue as a country, I actually think it might not be the end of the world.
Came in a way that I'm leaving. Came in a wave at the people. B-I-G-I, stampede away from an equal. When you got it, get it, buckle down and handle business, and you know to play your role, just in case you don't get to a sequel.
I gotta be very careful how I phrase this. Very careful. Because I obviously want Trump to win. I obviously want... I don't care about Republican, Republican. I don't care about that. I do like Trump, and I do think he would do an amazing job as president because he's proven it like he has in the first 4 years he was president. But if he were to lose, and the word on the street from the mouth of Elon Musk and his insight, that brain of Elon Musk, it is huge. He's got next level universal knowledge, is not even of this world. I almost sometimes think he could be an alien, and he has hinted at that occasionally, whether he's an alien or not. But Elon Musk, he has said this could be the last election if the Democrats win. And you can see that he's put all of his cards in on Donald Trump and the Republicans winning, primarily for freedom of speech. But what I'm saying is, if the Republicans lose, if we go completely blue as a country, if Kamala Harris wins, and what they are doing at the border, letting everyone come into this country and so that they can have a one-party system. And I think if that were to happen, I'm trying to see as in silver lining type of thing, could that be a good thing for our country? I said I got to be very careful with this. I'm just playing every angle that could happen. Every possibility I am gearing up for and ready for. We are just over a day after JD Vance went on Joe Rogan's show. He went on there at Halloween. It's at just over 10 million views. I'm just absolutely blown away that Kamala Harris turned down that offer. Actually, her campaign, I think it's more her campaign. I don't know, when you get into politics, you just have people that are just PR animals. So I got to get this out there. Because him going on the Joe Rogan podcast, like, they were just like a couple kids just cutting back, just cutting loose. He is freaking smart, man. He is so eloquent, such a good speaker. He says what he means and means what he says. He literally is like that. He's polished in a lot of ways as a politician, but really, I mean, he says what he means. He's almost like open and honest completely, like almost Donald Trump level. I mean, if you saw the vice president debate between him and, is it Tim Walz? Him and Walz, when they went up against each other, he was like, every question they were asking him, he wasn't like doing the political like maneuvers and just trying to somehow squeeze out of him and just say nothing, and like really say nothing, say a lot of words, but not say anything. He actually answered every question that was put forward to him. He made it a point to answer every question, which was a breath of fresh air for anyone that watched that. You're like, man, he actually wants us to know where he stands on things, and he's not hiding anything. He puts it all out there. And if you watch this podcast or listen to it with Joe Rogan, it was just so good. And I think Joe Rogan loved having him on because they jived really well together. And in the first 24 hours, it almost hit 9 million views. It hit 8.5 million views on YouTube. Now, when we're talking about views, YouTube is a proportion. It's a fraction, but it's a big portion of the pie. I listened to it on Apple Podcasts. But I mean, all the other ones that are out there that people had access to, it went out, into the airwaves. Everyone has it. And if you've watched it yet, I would highly encourage you to watch it. Definitely go watch Trump's interview first, no, without question. Because you might only have time for one. But so watch his first, but you got to check out JD Vance's on when he went on the Rogan podcast. JD Vance going on Rogan's podcast. I mean, they were like two kids just in the playground, just talking, man. It wasn't too hard having the conversation flowing with JD Vance because they just went off on so many different things. And Joe Rogan, he like asked like straight questions, like policy questions, if you're into that kind of thing. But also, I mean, we saw a side of JD Vance that I hadn't seen. I mean, he made it known that he cusses like a sailor, and he got that from his grandmother, who was a devout Christian, but who also cussed like a sailor. So JD Vance, he goes on the Joe Rogan podcast. They started off, and we're not going to dissect this as much as we did in depth with Trump's conversation with Joe Rogan, but we are going to hit a few high points from the get-go. I mean, there was not a dull moment, really. The whole conversation keeps you engaged. You don't really zone out much. JD Vance and Kamala Harris are like the opposite extremes of JD. Every word JD Vance is saying is meaningful and impactful and has just substance to it. And then Kamala Harris, she has a gift almost of being able to say so many words and to just go off on so many different tangents and say out so many things, but yet say nothing really substantive. She's able to just say so many things without saying anything. Every word JD Vance says, it's like it means something. It's not fluff. It's not fluff. And it's hard not to be not be a fluffer. I don't want to be a fluffer. No fluffers. I don't want to be a fluffer, but it's hard. It's hard because you fill the air when you don't have something to fill it with. You fill the air with fluff when you don't have something to fill it with. And Kamala Harris, she is saying real words, and real words that like in a sentence would line up one after the other, but they're not making an overall point. They're just saying things for the purpose of saying words and filling the air. And JD Vance just makes the point. He's like, what worries him is that if Kamala Harris wins, that she would be the one going in front of and represented us in front of world leaders. And what's she going to say when she's in those rooms having those conversations? I just see Kamala Harris as she wants power for the sake of power. To me, that's what it seems like. I don't know people's hearts. We don't know people's hearts. We honestly, nobody does. We don't know nobody's heart. We don't know what's actually going on in their mind, what's driving them to do what they do and what they really believe. We can kind of get that from what they say, but to me on the outside, it looks like Kamala Harris wants power for the sake of power. All right, so Rogan starts it off with asking Vance, what was it like when Trump selected you to be his running mate? What changed in your life? How did that all play out? And here's his response.
Was kind of my attitude towards it. I started to realize that Trump was thinking pretty seriously about making me his VP nominee probably earlier this year, because he would ask me a lot about who I thought the VP nominee should be.
Oh boy.
And I'd give him, yeah, exactly. And I'd give him names of people that I thought would be pretty good at it. And a lot of the names that I gave him, he would criticize. And I almost felt like he was inviting me to throw myself out there. But it's funny, the morning that he was shot in Butler, PA was the first time that he and I ever talked about it.
All right. So this is where it gets to a point where he talks about whenever Trump got shot and what went on in his mind, and he describes this event, and it was pretty eye-popping. And I don't know if the media's going to run with this, because like he talks about going, and whenever it happened, he went home, he got almost in this fight or flight mode, and he went home, he got his gun almost like I don't know if he's a centurion or something like that, a soldier, and just like waited at his house and was almost ready to go to battle. And it's like, is that the guy we want as our vice president? Someone that's going to be like that? And then you remember he is a Marine. That's in his blood, you know? If we ever go into battle, these are the type of guys that I would want representing us. It was an eye-opening story, and him relaying this to us. And I'm wondering if people on the left are going to kind of jump on that and say, look at this guy. He goes home and he gets his rifle out and everything. I gotta let you hear this just so you understand what I'm talking about, what he said. And so Trump just leaves JD just hanging in the balance on what's going to happen next. All right, let's hear what he has to say.
One of his staff members who's in the room, he's like, actually, wouldn't it really set the world ablaze if we just made the decision today? And so why don't you come up with me and we'll just do the announcement in Butler, Pennsylvania. Well, and I said, and of course, not knowing at the time what was going to happen, I was like, absolutely, let's get this over with because I'm sick of not knowing. Let's just get this thing over with. And then he's like, no, I'm not gonna do it up there. We need to prepare for it better. So look, I'm not saying it's going to be you, but I'm thinking very seriously about it. Have fun. We'll see after Butler, PA. And then, of course, I go back home to Ohio.
Oh, boy.
He gets
all right, so now he's going to start explaining what happened after Trump just kind of leaves him hanging. It's like someone offering you the job of your life, the job of your dreams, and then just kind of says, well, maybe let me actually just think about it a little longer. I'm not sure. I'm not ready to make a decision yet, but we'll just see. We'll see how things happen. And just kind of just leaves him hanging. And then Trump gets shot. At that point, when that actually happened, nobody knows what's going on. He thinks that Trump actually died. He thinks that he actually got killed. And it's like, if he did, it's like, does that mean war's happening? Does that mean something upheaval's about to take place? And we're going to see JD's reaction. Listen to this.
Shot. The initial reaction is I actually thought they had killed him because when you first see the video, he grabs his ear and then he goes down. And I'm like, oh my God, they just killed him. And first I was so pissed, but then I go into like fight or flight mode with my kids. I'm like, all right, kids, we were at a mini golf place in Cincinnati, Ohio. I grab my kids up, throw them in the car, go home and load all my guns and basically stand like a sentry at our front door.
Holy shit.
And that was sort of my reaction to it. Anyway.
All right. So, whenever Trump got shot, most people, when they heard about it after he's been shot, but everything's okay. But it's like, if we're a millimeter off, a difference in where that bullet went, who knows? What would have happened to this country? What would have, if this country would have been completely just, at that point, just torn asunder. And JD Vance is in that mindset. It's like, he goes home, loads his guns, and just stands there like I don't know if he says centurion or what he says exactly, but almost like in military garb. He's like ready to go to battle and war. Honestly, that's the type of person I want leading our country. That's the type of person that I want to have the helm, to be running the show, Somebody that is not afraid and is going to actually fight back, that is going to be ready to fight in whatever situation we find ourselves in. Someone that's not going to back down. He's not going to back down whatsoever. Trump's not going to back down. And it sounds like his running mate, he ain't going to back down either. All right. So here the JD Vance brings up the obvious elephant in the room so I thought it was kind of funny at this point in the video that JD Vance brings up the elephant in the room, that the Democrats, they keep saying what all these fears they have of what Trump is going to do, that they are the ones that are doing those exact same things to him. So check it out what he says. It's kind of enlightening.
But so what's interesting to me about toddlers, and I've talked with Tucker Carlson about this. Toddlers lie in a way that's very different from how everybody else lies, right? So if you're telling a lie, normally, hey, did you do that thing? You would say, no, somebody else did it, or they kind of qualify it a little bit. Let me give you an example. My 4-year-old, I'm a big baker, probably surprised by that, but I'm a big baker. And my 4-year-old and I are making an Oreo cake a few weeks ago. And my 4-year-old is helping me. He likes to help me out a lot when I bake. And I go to the bathroom, and the Oreos that we're supposed to put in the Oreo cake, crumble them up and put them in the cake, half of them are gone when I get back. And I'm like, buddy, what happened to the Oreos? And he looks at me, and without a hint of irony or shame, he says, I didn't eat the Oreos, you did, right? So that's the way that Kamala Harris lies, is I didn't eat the Oreos, you did. Not only does she actively brag, and has her administration actively bragged about trying to arrest her political opponents, she will go out and say that if Donald Trump is the president, he's going to arrest his political opponents, even though he already was president and he didn't do that.
Did you see she went on Shannon Sharp and said that he's going to take away your Second Amendment rights?
It's crazy.
Okay, yeah, that is pretty dang funny. So I think about that quite a bit. That it seems like I think about that quite a bit. Just thinking Kamala Harris and the campaign are constantly just berating Donald Trump and just attacking him. They did everything in their power to put him in prison, put him in jail, and that is the threat. If he doesn't win, it's like Trump is like fighting for his life, that he better become president, because otherwise he's going to end up in prison. He's going to end up in prison for the rest of his life, which is just, it's insane. And then they are the ones saying that he would do these things, and they're promoting that if Trump becomes president, he's going to come after us. He's going to put us in jail and everything, where he didn't do that the first time when he was president. And they are actively doing that to him while they're saying that he's going to do that to them. So it's like all completely flipped and upside down and backwards. So I don't even know what to make of it, but it's just funny hearing him say that, because him giving that description of that story with his child. He walks out of the bathroom and his kid says, "I didn't eat the cookies, you did." You know, that's hilarious. That's something a child would do. It's something a child would do. And that's something a lot of people do. You know, a lot of grown adults, grown ass men do that, you know, and that's what happens, you know. Human nature doesn't change that different from when you're a baby until you get old. You know, you're still a kid almost at heart. You're a kid at heart. All right. So towards the end of the video, they started talking about illegal immigration and why the Democrats are just allowing these foreigners to just take over our country. And he says it in a couple of different ways. Vance describes it in an event. He gives a story of a CEO of some company that he had a conversation with years back, and that was just ranting on Donald Trump and saying why he did not like Trump was because of Trump keeping illegal immigrants out of our country. It was making wages go up because he was having to pay Americans, as opposed to people that are not supposed to be here, the lower wages. Let's hear what he has to say about that.
Have cut down the number of illegal immigrants. And because I can't pay illegal immigrants under the table anymore, I have to pay American workers, and they want much higher wages. And I was like, this guy just admitted it.
So why all these illegal immigrants? What is the Democrats' game plan? Why are they trying this and allowing this to happen? Why are they pushing for this to happen? The fear is that Elon Musk, like he has said, that our nation could become a one-party nation. Democrats, everything becomes blue. If that were to happen, this is where what I am proposing and what I want to share with you. If that were to happen, say this is our last election, as in real legitimate election, as in between two sides going against each other. If the blue, as in the Democrats, completely overtake our government and it becomes, we are a one-party nation, I honestly think if that were to happen, I'm still rooting for Trump. I want him to become president. But if that were to happen, I don't think it'd be the end of the world. I don't think, and because, like I have said in many of my videos, I am not for Republican or Democrat, either one whatsoever. I say let the parties dissolve. Let the parties just completely go away and burn down. Let them just completely just not exist anymore. Because I am not for one side against the other. If we all become blue, say the whole nation becomes Democrat, we're all Democrats, whatever. Then it's just one party. Let it be that, and just then let ideas reign and let them reign. And it's like, let people that were Republicans on the other side, let's just all come under one tent and no more parties. And if that's what it comes to, as in one nation, that we become of one party, I think that's the way it should have been from the beginning. And if that's what it takes, as in the Democrats win and let them rue the day, that they will absorb the whole nation, let us all become that. And because then it'll be a matter of ideas winning within the one camp of being blue. Let's all be blue, whatever. I don't think it's going to happen. I still think Trump is going to win, and we will go down that path. But I'm just trying to see things in this, see the silver lining if it were to happen that Kamala Harris wins. But really, I think the only way she would win is if something kind of finicky takes place And I might throw my conspiratorial hat on, my tinfoil hat, and say that is what would be able to push her through and winning. That's the only way. That's the only way I could see her winning, especially after this last month as we actually go in to election happening, people casting their ballots. Joe Biden just called half the country garbage, and I don't think a lot of undecided independent voters are going to have the heart to go out there and vote for Kamala Harris. I just do not see it. I do not see that actually taking place. But anything could happen. We will find out. We will find out. So as we get ready to wrap up and as we get ready to next week, I mean, let's kick the tires and light the fires, because it's going to be explosive. Whatever happens, it's going to be explosive. So we will find out on Tuesday night, more than likely, probably the next morning, and I bet it's going to run. I don't think we are going to get a glimpse of who's going to win probably that night and that next morning, but I think it's going to go into the legal battle because whoever loses is going to oppose the other one, and it's going to go to the courts. But I hope it's an overwhelming victory for Trump so that it can just completely just silence the possibility of the other side revolting and raising up. Either way, there could be a revolt. Who knows? From either side. So either way, like I said, it's not gonna be boring. It's not gonna be boring. So we shall see. Have a great day. Get out there and vote, and go America.
Brace yourself.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Your support means the world to me, and it helps keep the content coming. Until next time, stay blessed and keep shining.